All right, hello. Just checking here to make sure I'm actually showing up in the group. Yes, and I am here. I am live. Hello, welcome. I wanted to jump in here and talk about anger for a moment because it's a very natural feeling to come up, especially as things are moving and shifting, especially when it's unexpected, not something we necessarily volunteered for. Even when we volunteered for something that changes, anger can come up. And a lot of the reasons why is really because, hold on here, I'm getting feedback. Sorry. And the reason for that is because you're trying to protect this identity that you've built for yourself, and either you're trying to defend what you are envisioning to create, or you're trying to still hold on to what you always either thought of yourself or envisioned yourself, or what you wanted to see created around you. And really, what ends up happening is all these people that are reflecting these bits and pieces of yourself that either you're protecting yourself from with defenses, or you're trying to take from and pull that maybe isn't quite working, starts to show up and really starts to create the sensation of unease, of anxiety within the body. And it turns into this reaction where you want to defend yourself, you want to build up this bubble, you want to own this image of yourself to the world. And that's the essence of where anger comes from. It's a very hot emotion. It's destructive. If you think about it, it's the fire energy that we hear talked about a lot. Fires can cook, fires can mold. It softens metal to make it moldable. It burns through wood, turning it to ash. So it can also be this very destructive force when you look at it from, let's say you're the piece of wood, right? Like, you want to be an oak wood, but the fire is really pressing into you. You're being held to the fire. You're starting to dissolve. You're starting to disintegrate and turn into ash. And from the outside, this shouldn't be happening. We need to stop this. This very, how do I protect myself from what is going on around me? I shouldn't be turning to ash, or turning to ash is a bad thing. But the beautiful thing about fire is it destroys also what isn't permanent, isn't what's needed in your life. So, this thing that's turning from wood into ash is something that really needs to be transmuted, needs to be transcended, needs to be released anyway to become really fertile ground. Because once the forest burns down, once the tree burns down, once the wood turns into ash, it becomes very nutrient for the soil to create new things, to create something different. But a lot of the times, we get stuck in this wanting things to be the way we want them to be, right? This will-powered way of moving through life. And that's where I really want you to draw your attention to your solar plexus, this space right between your rib cage here. It's the seat, the seat of your solar plexus. It's also yellow. It also holds that fire element inside there. It's also where you hold this image of yourself, your ego, your self-care, also your ability to create what you want, be able to take action and move forward in your life. And a lot of times, like, anger shows up as you're working through this area of your body, as you're working on calling your power back, as you're working on building success in your life that you haven't seen in the past, as you're reshaping yourself with the new circumstances that are going on. And so I want you just to shift from, anger as being something that can be dysfunctional, which it doesn't, definitely has that aspect when you take it out on the world around you, and really seeing it as this internal catalyst, right? And sometimes it can be very hard to do because the events that are going on around you can feel very, very unpleasant. So one of the beautiful things about the yoga practice is it allows you to really dive back into your body and use your body to work through these emotions. So, how that looks for me and in my practice is, especially, when anger comes up, when, you know, you want, like, I want to blame people around me, right? Because, somehow I'm thinking it's their fault, and not taking ownership of what's going on, really wanting to, like, recreate this image of myself. There's this tension that starts to show up. in the solar plexus. So just sitting with that and feeling that constriction, that really tense constricting, like in the core of your body, really cuts from like your creative, your solar, your sacral plexus, as well as your root chakra grounded. So you don't really feel creative, you don't feel grounded. You're also upper chakras, from your heart, from the wisdom, from, what you get to really create with other people, as well as, your throat chakra, your expression, and the wisdom that's coming from them. It creates this disconnect, right? Where things don't quite seem to get married together. So tapping into your body and really being able to shift that, I mean, that is true power. That allows you to come back from a neutral space and really bring yourself into alignment with what you want to create. So how do you do that, right? Like, how do you do that when, you're frustrated, things don't seem to be working, or you're just flat out angry at the situation you're in because you don't want to be there? The first thing that I like to do is lighten up, find some things to laugh about. And that can be difficult at first. But one of the reasons why that laughter is so powerful and moving the solar plexus is because it really helps move your diaphragm, which is right at the top of where your solar plexus is. Really helps reverberate the top of that chakra to help bring the energy back up, to really open up your heart, coming into resonance, really being able to express yourself, productively, right? So it's not like you're vomiting all over everybody. It's not stuff that's coming up from, from your stomach, from below the power chakra, and just blasting out. It's really expressing from a place of authenticity, a place of love, a place of further, future vision, as opposed to all the things that are kind of getting stirred up and just don't feel so good. So, and just even think about laughing. Like, even if you can find something like funny right now, just start laughing and notice how that really helps bounce through the solar plexus, really helps move through that chakra, really moves through the energy, and just creates this reverberation in your body that really leads you to a more productive place in your life. So just take a moment, and we can even practice this right now. Think of a moment in your life where you feel blocked, you feel stuck, you feel frustrated, things haven't been going your way. What are the stories you're telling yourself? What is coming up? And I guarantee you, like, if you boil it down, like all the way down to like this, like basic fundamental essence of that, is you're telling yourself a story of somehow you can't. There's something that you can't do, or something that you can't have, or an ability that you need to create that you're just telling yourself it's too hard, right? So just come back to that moment and start to find some humor in that, right? Like, knowing that, in this famous quote from Henry Ford, whether you believe you can or believe you can't, you're right. So really coming back and rewriting that story and using laughter to really help accelerate that movement up from your solar chakra, really allowing that energy to move through you, open up through your diaphragm, open up through your chest, and really see how just that movement really helps like lighten up the atmosphere, not only like within your body, but notice what happens in the room around you. I study this quite a bit, and it even amazes me just watching how, like, when I shift my internal states, when I'm able to bring more lightness, more joy, more humor, more spontaneity to the room, just watching how the people around me also start to shift and evolve. Not because, they have to, or, because anyone's doing anything different. It's just because the energy starts to lighten up in the room. So to work with anger, which is a very creative force, is a very important catalyst to have in our life. But you always have the choice of either coming from a place of ungrounded or scarcity. That's kind of like the vomiting up of anger. It's this expulsion where you're not really consciously like sharing what's going on. It's just this like ejection of garbage, from your body. Or you can really come into like this joy, this laughter, this open, this expansive place that really helps rally everyone together. It really helps shift not only, what everyone's experiencing, but also what you're feeling in your body. And that's when you start to really notice the possibilities that are laid out in front of you. So I'll just challenge you this week. Anytime you start feeling that emotion come up, looking at finding ways to laugh or find humor, whether at first it might just be like watching a funny TV show, right? Just to get you start laughing, get yourself separated from that. But eventually you can start moving towards finding humor in that situation. Noticing like that is what I call self-care, right? Being able to find something that has been heavy, that's been dense, that's been sticky in your life, and really being able to find the humor, the levity, the joy, the abundance, like the possibilities within there to really help you move to the next stage. So that's actually my February. I'm having this whole self-care theme going on with inside the group. So I really want to provide opportunities for you guys to dive in and create self-care routines for you. Um, that isn't really like adding a whole lot of other things in the day. Like I know like when I first started my journey, like my thoughts on self-care, it's like, a spa day, like taking like hours to exercise or taking all this time to do all these extra things to help pamper and promote, well-being within the body. And it totally can be, but that's not the only elements of self-care that I want to talk about here. I really want to focus on the little things that you can do day in and day out that can even take like the mundane things that you do in your life and really shift them into this very powerful self-care practice. And, laughter is a perfect example of that. Finding opportunities just to lighten up and open up your body and expand your chakras by something as simple as finding something to laugh about in the day, taking time to just create lightness in the space around you, how that can really like help you not only transform like your own thoughts and feelings about what's going on, but can also help change and shift how other people are viewing the same situations. So thank you so much for tuning in. I'm excited to talk about this topic this week because it is such a huge expansion to like how you truly tap in and live your life. Namaste.